There is no humor, and there is zero heart in this book. This reviewer lied to me. I hate this book. This will 100% be going back into Second and Charles because I do not want to see this in my bookshelf ever again. Please do not read it. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This video is going to be, like the title says, a review of all of the books that I have read for the month of August and what I thought about them. Okay, so I have all of the books that I read for the month of August right here. So these are all the books that I read for the month of August. So I read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 books. We're just gonna start from top to bottom. So the very first book that I have here is The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. I just finished this last night. This, I had an idea going in that there was gonna be a plot twist. This is like a mystery type book, mystery fiction book. I knew there was gonna be a plot twist coming in, so I was kind of prepared for it, which is one of the downsides of getting a book that is really popular on Book Talk, BookTube. You kind of know a little bit about it before you even get started. So I knew there was a plot twist. This definitely took me by surprise. As I was reading it, I kind of had a feeling something was off, but I didn't expect it. It took a turn. I really liked this. I gave it 5 stars. It's definitely a good read and definitely something I would recommend anybody else read who likes those kind of mysteries. So this is the second book this month that I read that was by Jane Austen. I have never read a classical fiction book, or at least I have not read one in 20 plus years since high school. I gave this book 5 stars. It's about girl Emma who has decided she doesn't want to marry, but she likes to play matchmaker. And she's very proud of the fact that she can read people. She knows what people like and who they should marry. And so she's very proud of the fact that she is such a good matchmaker when in fact she kind of sucks at it. It was 5 star. It was easier to read than the Pride and Prejudice book that I'm going to read or talk about later. This was definitely much easier for me to read and I really enjoyed it. So, Meet Earl and the Dying Girl. I picked this up because it was yellow, it kind of stood out at the bookstore, and I decided to get it. Plus, it said it was now a major motion picture, so I was like, okay, it's gotta be a good book because it's a movie. This book was miserable. I gave this 1 star. I was gonna DNF it, but I decided not to. I wanted to get to the end of it. This is miserable. So this is basically about Greg. He's the me in this sentence. Greg and Earl, and the dying girl is a girl named Rachel, and Rachel, she's leukemia now. And so Greg was told by his mom to befriend Rachel because she's got cancer and, you know, she's not doing well. It'll make her feel so much better. But he is a dirtbag. Like, he doesn't care for her. Earl is the most obnoxious person. Like, they're just randomly start having crude jokes about nothing in the middle of nothing. Like, it was infuriating the way that Greg in particular treated Rachel. He could care less about her. Earl was obnoxious. And then Greg is, I guess, the narrator of the whole story. And just randomly, like, there'll be a paragraph is like talking to the readers, like, I don't know why you're reading this. This is stupid. This is trash. I'm surprised you're still reading it this far. And I wanted to be like, yeah, it sucks. I don't know why I'm still reading it. I should have dropped it, but I decided to keep on going just to see how it ends. This book sucks. Literally the very last page at the end of this, after Rachel has died, like, they start talking about, they're at a Vietnamese restaurant and they're eating Vietnamese food. And then randomly, this whole last page is talking about how the food looks like somebody's body part. And then it's like, no, it doesn't look like that body part. It looks like a butthole. And then it looks like a wrinkly this. And it might be a butthole, but it actually could be this. Like, literally, it makes no, it's not part of the sentence or not part of the story at all. But just, it randomly goes on to that. And I don't It has no point. It was infuriating. I hated this book. I don't ever want to see this movie. But originally, I thought this was going to be a good book because on here, it has a review of Kirkus Reviews. I don't even know who that is. That should have told me something. It says, quote, though this novel begs, ... comparisons to John Green's The Fault in Our Stars, it stands on its own in inventiveness, humor, and heart. End quote. How anybody could try to compare this to The Fault in Our Stars, I don't think I've read that book. I have seen the movie. Other than the fact that the girl is sick. Like, it's a guy and a girl, and one of them is sick. There's no comparison. There is no humor, and there is zero heart in this book. This reviewer lied to me. I hate this book. This will 100% be going back into Second and Charles because I do not want to see this in my bookshelf ever again. Please do not read it. On to better books. So I read The Song of Achilles. I did not know anything about this book going into it other than it's about like a Greek mythology, but I went through high school 20 years ago. I don't remember anything about Greek mythology, so I really couldn't tell you anything about Achilles to begin with. So this was pretty good. I gave it 4 stars. It was, I think maybe I would have given it higher if I knew and liked Greek mythology. It took me a little bit longer to get through. It still only took me like a few days, but I can see if someone likes Greek mythology, they would like this a whole lot. Basically, this is a story about Achilles and his like friend Patroclus, but it's basically about Achilles and him going to the Trojan War and him. So it was good. It was definitely, I didn't realize until halfway through the book that there is in the back, there's a chapter glossary and it talks about all the different people. Like it has Athena, who she is. It has Hera, and it has like a little paragraph of who all of the different people are. And so once I realized that, I actually flagged it so I could remember to go back to it. It made a lot more sense because all of the people that they were talking about in the book, because I don't know Greek mythology, it was hard for me to keep everybody straight. Once I did that, I ended up really liking the book a lot better. So it was definitely good. 4 stars. Like I said, if you like Greek mythology, you might like it more. The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. So I gave this 5 stars. I don't know if I gave it 5 stars. Now that I'm thinking back on it, I don't know if it really was a 5-star book. I feel like it's probably more 4 stars for me. Basically, it's about Evelyn Hugo, who has requested this one very specific journalist to interview her, and she was only going to give this to this one girl. No one else was going to get this opportunity. So throughout the book, it's her going through her life, how she came from basically nobody and all the choices that she made to become this like super famous Hollywood starlet. And she talks about all the 7 husbands that she's had and who the love of her life is and things that she regretted or things she didn't regret. And so it's her just going through her life. Like I said, I gave it 5 stars. I feel like I was unintentionally persuaded to rate this high just because everyone loved it. It was good. Thinking back on it, I think it's more of a 4-star book for me, but it was still a good book. I'll definitely keep it in my collection and maybe read it again in the future. Get a Life, Chloe Brown. So this is book 1. I think this is one of the 3 books of Talia Hibbert's Get a Life series. I've never read any of them, so I read Chloe Brown. This one, it was a romance. It is about Chloe, who's got all these like medical issues, and she has made a list of things that she wants to do. Like one of them is she wants to move out of her parents' house or her mom's house, and so she does that. And then one of them is she wants to ride a motorcycle. So she has like this list of things that she wants to do. And so she runs into Red. She gets him to help her like ride the motorcycle and do some of the other things, and it's them kind of finding out they like each other and their like evolution. It was good. I gave it 4 stars. It wasn't the best. So this is the Pride and Prejudice book that I got from Jane Austen. This has a different cover. If you watch my August TBR, I talk about how this, you know, originally the cover got me. This is the first Jane Austen book that I have read, or the first classical fiction book I have read in a very, very, very long time. This was written back in like the 1800s. Unlike Bridgerton, it's written for the 1800s, but it's written in the current 21st century. This is literally written back in 1800s. So it has a lot of sentences or verbiage that I'm not accustomed to, because it's not words that we use anymore in the context they were used. Like, they talked about people's constitution and their felicity and just other types of words, and the way that the sentences were, the things that were said, the tone of them being said. It was a little hard for me to initially understand. This was really good. I gave it 5 stars. I really enjoyed the kind of banter or the back and forth between Mr. Darcy and Lizzie. So yeah, it was really good. I really enjoyed it. I do have another Jane Austen book on my September TBR, and that one I'm going to be reading Sense and Sensibility. So I also read the Unhoneymooners. This was the first book that I've read by Christina Lauren. This is another one of the ones that I got because of Book Talk / BookTube. This one was a romance. I rated it 4 stars. This was about at the very beginning of the book, Olive and Ethan are both part of a wedding party that the entire wedding party ends up getting food poisoning. And so Olive is the bride's sister, and the bride has bought non-refundable, non-transferable tickets to the honeymoon in, I can't remember where it was, to Hawaii, an island in Hawaii, I think. Olive decides to take her sister's place, and Ethan is going in place of the groom. And Ethan is the brother of the groom. So you have the bride's sister and the groom's brother. Ethan and Olive are going to pretend to be the bride and groom on the honeymoon, but they hate each other. So it's them pretending for 2 weeks to go to the penthouse, do all the honeymoon stuff that was booked, pretending to be the actual bride and groom. And so it's them kind of figuring out, do they hate each other? Do they really hate each other? Do they kind of like each other, but do they actually love each other? So it's very funny. There were laugh out loud moments. I tabbed one of them because it was hilarious. I literally laughed out loud enough to my daughter was like, what are you reading? What is happening? Definitely a good read. I rated it 4 stars, and I think I only rated it that way because for romances, this one does not have dual point of views. I really like romances where you get to see 2 different point of views, because I feel like you get connected to the character so much better when you get Olive and Ethan's point of view. This one just had Olive's point of view, and so I felt it definitely would have been a 5-star if I would have seen or read what Ethan was thinking, if I had his perspective on the situation within this book. Other than that, it was really good. I'll definitely be reading something from her in the future. And then the last book, People Like Us. This is about a girl who was found dead in a lake at like this super prestigious boarding school. And one of the girls that found Jessica, the dead girl in the lake, later after her death was sent a like email saying that she needed to comply with the following steps, or some big secret was going to get let out that was going to like destroy her. So it wasn't I gave it 3 stars. It wasn't a good book, but it wasn't a bad book. It was like one of the ones that just kind of coasts in the middle. It was a decent read. It wasn't anything outstanding. It wasn't anything that was miserable when I read it. So it was a decent book. 3 stars. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody, but if somebody picked it up, I wouldn't be like, don't read it. It was just kind of like a middle of the road book. So those were all of my books that I read for the month of August. If you made it this far, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. I have, since my last couple of videos, I've actually gotten a few new subscribers, so thank you so much if you subscribe new. I think I went from like 5 subscribers to I think now I'm at 15, so I have like 10 new subscribers in about a month-ish, which is super cool. I thank you so much. So definitely make sure you like and subscribe this video, and if there's any books that you have read that you really like, please let me know. I'm taking recommendations. I'm always trying to find new books for me to read. If you read any of the books that I read that you either liked or disliked while I liked them or disliked them, let me know. I'm curious what your thoughts were on some of the books that I read. Particularly, have you read Me and Earl and the Dying Girl? And did you like it? I really want to know someone who's read it that enjoyed that book, because I don't know how anybody could read it and think this is a great book, but maybe you do. Please let me know if you did. All right, so with that, thank you so much. Please make sure you like and subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Bye.